What if an entire continent forgot the same month at the same time? The calendar reads April 30th, 1902. The next page shows June 1st, 1902. Between those dates lies a void that stretches across the consciousness of an entire continent. Not a gap in records, not missing documentation, but a complete absence of memory that affected millions of people simultaneously. 31 days that vanished not just from history books, but from the minds of everyone who lived through them. In the basement archives of the British Museum, a curious discovery waits among yellowed papers and forgotten manuscripts. Personal diaries from the year 1902, hundreds of them, donated by families across Europe over the decades. Each journal tells the same impossible story, entries that skip from April 30th directly to June 1st, with no acknowledgement of the missing time. Not torn pages, not censored content, but blank space where May should be, as if the writers themselves had never lived through those days. Margaret Whitson, a Victorian housewife from Manchester, wrote religiously in her diary every day for 47 years. Her 1902 journal contains 334 entries instead of 365. The handwriting flows seamlessly from April 30th. A complaint about rainy weather and rising bread prices to June 1st, where she mentions feeling curiously refreshed after a long rest, though I cannot recall taking one. Dr. Friedrich Kellner, a psychiatrist in Vienna, documented over 2,000 cases of what he termed temporal displacement syndrome. During summer 1902, his patients shared identical symptoms, a sense that time had passed without their awareness, dreams of strange lights, and the feeling they had forgotten something tremendously important. But Kellner's research came to an abrupt halt in August 1902, when he was found dead under circumstances that defied explanation. His body showed no injury, yet every timepiece in the room had stopped at the same moment. His final research notes had been removed, leaving only empty drawers and the faint scent of ozone. The phenomenon wasn't limited to personal memory. Official government records from across Europe show the same temporal gap. Parliament sessions, military dispatches, police reports all skip from April 30th to June 1st as if May had never been scheduled. The Times of London published daily editions throughout 1902. Except during May, their records show paper deliveries and staff wages paid, but no newspapers produced. Surviving editors insisted they had taken an extended holiday, though none could remember where or why. Bank records across European financial centers display the same impossible pattern. Transactions dated April 30th, followed immediately by June 1st. Interest calculations somehow account for the missing days without mathematical explanation. Account holders made deposits during a month that officially never happened. Railway schedules from the period reveal perhaps the most unsettling evidence. Train companies continued operating throughout 1902, but their May timetables have vanished. Station logs jump from April to June, yet cargo manifests show goods transported during the missing month. Passenger tickets bear stamps from dates that don't appear in any calendar. The only witnesses to May 1902 were children under 7 and adults over 70. These groups retained fragmented memories that painted a picture of events so extraordinary that authorities dismissed them as fantasies. 7-year-old Thomas Hartwell of Birmingham told his parents about the month when the sky danced every night. His drawings showed geometric patterns of light stretching across the heavens in formations that wouldn't be identified until decades later as electromagnetic phenomena. Elderly residents of Prague reported similar visions during summer 1902. Maria Svoboda, age 73, described 30 nights when the stars rearranged themselves into new patterns, forming shapes that hurt to look at but were impossible to ignore. She claimed the lights grew brighter each night until they filled the sky. These accounts were systematically collected by a secret investigation unit within the German Ministry of Health. Their reports, classified for nearly a century, describe a coordinated effort to document and study the memory loss phenomenon. Investigators traveled across Europe, interviewing individuals who retained memories of May 1902. The investigation revealed that memory loss followed precise demographic patterns. Adults between 8 and 69 were completely affected. Geographic location made no difference. Urban and rural populations showed identical symptoms. Social class and education had no bearing on susceptibility. The only variables that mattered were age and proximity to certain architectural structures during early May. Ancient cathedrals, Roman ruins, and medieval castles seemed to serve as focal points for the phenomenon. Populations living within a 15-mile radius of these structures showed deeper levels of memory loss than those in remote areas. Some villages near historical sites lost not only their memories of May 1902, but also experienced amnesia extending back months. The architectural connection led investigators to a disturbing discovery. Many of the affected structures contained hidden chambers or underground passages that had been sealed for centuries. During May 1902, these sealed areas showed evidence of recent activity, fresh air circulation, moved objects, and electromagnetic residue that suggested the operation of unknown technologies. Dr. Heinrich Goethe, the lead investigator for the German unit, documented the discovery of metallic devices embedded within the walls of affected buildings. These objects, roughly the size of dinner plates and composed of alloys that contemporary metallurgy couldn't identify, appeared to have been installed during the original construction of the structures sometime centuries earlier. When activated by electromagnetic fields of specific frequencies, the devices produced localized distortion effects that influenced human neural activity. Laboratory tests on volunteers showed that exposure to the device emissions caused temporary memory disruption, disorientation, and susceptibility to suggestion. Extended exposure resulted in complete amnesia regarding events that occurred while under the influence. The implications were staggering. Someone or some organization had embedded memory control technology into European architecture centuries ago, creating a network capable of manipulating the consciousness of entire populations. The lost month of May 1902 wasn't an accident or natural phenomenon, but a large-scale test of this continental control system. But who possessed such technology in 1902? Who had the knowledge to create memory-altering devices centuries before their installation? And what purpose was served by erasing one specific month from the collective consciousness of an entire continent? The answer may lie in the few surviving photographs taken during the lost month. These images, discovered in private collections decades later, show European cities populated by individuals who don't appear in any official records from the period. Well-dressed figures moving through public spaces with purposeful efficiency, as if conducting systematic research or completing specific objectives. The photographs reveal details that shouldn't exist. Vehicles that wouldn't be invented for decades, communication equipment that predates known technology, and architectural modifications to famous landmarks that were somehow removed before June 1st. It tests as if an advanced civilization had used the memory-erased month to conduct open research on human society, studying population behavior while ensuring that no evidence of their presence would remain in conscious memory. Weather records from the period, compiled from automatic instruments that operated independently of human observation, show atmospheric anomalies throughout May 1902 that correlate with reports of unusual lights in the sky. Electromagnetic disturbances occurred in regular patterns across specific geographic coordinates, suggesting coordinated activity rather than natural phenomena. The disturbances intensified each night, reaching peak intensity on May 15th, exactly halfway through the erased month. On that date, monitoring stations across Europe recorded electromagnetic readings that exceeded their measurement capabilities. The patterns suggest a massive data transmission event, as if information was being collected from the memory control devices and transmitted to some central location. After May 15th, the electromagnetic activity began to diminish, following a precisely calculated reduction schedule that ensured complete cessation by May 31st. The final week of the lost month saw increasing activity around the ancient structures that housed the hidden devices, as if teams were conducting systematic removal or deactivation of the embedded technology. By June 1st, 1902, the memory control network had been shut down, the evidence had been removed, and an entire continent had awakened with no recollection of the month-long experiment they had just survived. The only traces that remained were the fragmentary memories of children and elderly adults whose neural patterns had proven resistant to the technology, and the automatic recordings of instruments that operated independently of human consciousness. The German investigation unit continued their research into 1903, but their final reports were classified at the highest levels, and their members gradually reassigned to unrelated positions. Dr. Goethe disappeared entirely in the winter of 1903, leaving behind only a personal note that read, "They know that we know. The test was successful. Larger experiments are being planned." Modern neuroscience has identified the specific brain structures that would need to be manipulated to produce selective memory loss of the type documented in 1902. The precision required to affect millions of people simultaneously while leaving physical and automatic records intact suggests a level of technological sophistication that exceeded anything available to known human civilization at the time. The demographic specificity of the phenomenon, affecting only individuals within certain age ranges, indicates detailed understanding of human neural development across different life stages. The ability to coordinate such effects across vast geographic areas implies a communication and control system that operated beyond the technological capabilities of the early 20th century. Perhaps most unsettling is the revelation that the memory control devices had been embedded in European architecture for centuries, suggesting that the 1902 experiment was not an isolated event but part of a long-term research program. How many other lost months have been erased from human consciousness throughout history? How many experiments have been conducted while entire populations remained unaware of their participation? The geometric patterns of the electromagnetic disturbances recorded during May 1902 match similar phenomena documented during other historical periods of unexplained collective behavior. The dancing plague of 1518, the Great Fear of 1789, the phantom airship waves of the 1890s, all occurred in regions that later showed evidence of hidden architectural devices and were preceded by unusual atmospheric displays. These events weren't random outbreaks of mass hysteria, but carefully controlled experiments designed to test different aspects of large-scale population manipulation. The technology demonstrated in 1902 represents the culmination of centuries of research into human consciousness and the development of increasingly sophisticated methods for controlling collective memory and behavior. The missing month of May 1902 proved that entire populations could be manipulated without their awareness, that memories could be selectively erased while preserving automatic functions, and that advanced technology could operate undetected within existing infrastructure for extended periods. The experiment established parameters for population control that may continue to influence human development today. If such capabilities existed in 1902, what advances have been made in the decades since? What experiments might be occurring now, hidden from conscious awareness by technologies that have evolved beyond the crude electromagnetic devices of the early 20th century? How would we know if our own memories had been edited, our own experiences modified by forces we don't recognize? The basement archives of the British Museum contain more than just missing diary entries. Hidden beneath conventional documentation lies a collection that should not exist, personal artifacts from the month that never was. A pocket watch stopped at 11:47 p.m. on May 15, 1902. A train ticket from London to Edinburgh, dated May 23, 1902. Photographs showing gatherings that no one remembers attending. These physical remnants tell a story that contradicts the official silence. They speak of a month that was lived and documented, only to be surgically removed from human consciousness while leaving scattered evidence that the erasure was incomplete. Dr. Elizabeth Morrison, a neurologist at Edinburgh University, describes the phenomenon as precision memory editing on an unprecedented scale. Her analysis reveals patterns suggesting the memory loss was carefully calibrated to remove specific experiences while preserving others. Hospital records from June 1902 show unusual clusters of patients suffering from temporal disorientation syndrome. These individuals displayed symptoms consistent with neural trauma, despite showing no physical injury. Brain examinations revealed microscopic scarring in memory formation regions following patterns unlike any natural condition. Dr. James Whitaker documented patients who complained of holes in their thoughts and missing pieces in their lives. Many reported vivid dreams of impossible experiences, visions of technology that didn't exist, encounters with beings that appeared human but moved with mechanical precision. The dreams followed consistent themes. Vast underground facilities illuminated by shadowless light. Beings that spoke in harmonized voices resonating directly within the mind. Experiences of floating through geometric spaces while information flowed into consciousness like water filling an empty vessel. These weren't fantasies but recovered memories of experiences the erasure technology failed to eliminate. The underground facilities described correspond to architectural anomalies discovered beneath European cities during later excavations. Construction workers uncovered chambers directly beneath locations where memory manipulation devices had been found. Similar discoveries occurred in Paris, Vienna, and Rome throughout the 1950s. Each revealed identical features. Circular chambers connected by corridors extending beyond conventional excavation reach. The chambers contained platforms with wear patterns suggesting repeated use, though the material composition defied analysis. The scope suggests continental infrastructure designed for large-scale neural manipulation. Ground-penetrating radar indicates the discovered chambers represent only a fraction of a much larger system. Tunnels extend beneath major European cities, following geometric patterns similar to those observed during May 1902. The construction techniques exceed the capabilities of any known historical civilization. The precision, advanced materials, and sophisticated understanding of human neurology point to technological capabilities that shouldn't have existed during any period of European history. Yet the age of these structures can be dated to periods corresponding to major architectural developments above. The London chambers show construction during the Roman period. The Paris network dates to the medieval era. Each case shows underground infrastructure integrated with surface construction, hidden within foundations of buildings that would house memory manipulation devices. This timeline suggests a project spanning centuries, involving gradual installation of neural control systems beneath European cities. The project required advanced planning and organizational continuity exceeding anything attributed to known historical institutions. The 1902 experiment tested the fully activated continental control network. For 31 days, researchers conducted open studies on European society while ensuring no trace remained in human consciousness. The research focused on social behavior, technological adaptation, and response to external influence. The successful completion marked the end of installation and beginning of operational deployment. The technology was refined into more subtle forms of influence. Rather than dramatic erasures, the system began operating through incremental adjustments to collective memory and perception. Because somewhere in archives we're not supposed to access, the data from that lost month continues to be analyzed. The methods are being refined. The technology is being improved. And the next experiment may already have begun, hidden in plain sight within the rhythm of our daily lives, erasing itself from our awareness even as we live through it. The calendar moves from April to June with perfect continuity. But in the space between those months lies evidence of a reality far stranger and more controlled than we've been allowed to remember. A reality in which human consciousness itself is subject to editing by forces that prefer to remain invisible, conducting research in the blind spots of collective memory where their work can proceed undetected. What if they never stopped?